Right, so I don't know if I said in the other video, but yeah, the other argument that I gave was within their own code of conduct, within their own laws that they follow, so that they don't go off like somewhat of abuse power on the special one. So they follow a certain civil system that makes them equal as you, as a civilian, while they're in the uniform over there to make sure that they cannot exploit you. And then if a tyranny that's like so disgusting to the Americans because of the fact that it involves torture. Some of the other Americans don't like torturing other people, other uniform, especially unless it's related to like special military activity that happen overseas or during a time of emergency or something. The Americans themselves underneath their own civil system will not allow them to go off and employ torture or unusual punishment because of the fact that they themselves don't want to get caught in that unusual punishment, especially they will not want that to be done to them, especially that's why they always somewhat push out that tyranny inside the American special. You might want to go off and vote for tyranny. It's all fun and game until like you're selected, and then eventually they go off and like they execute you with a machine gun inside the American prison system. So those of us that have common sense say no to that around the special time, and they really rejected it with certain buffers or like certain systems to then make sure that the system cannot be abused the same way that King George did it. Yeah, to then go off and exploit people on the special. It took time to build that system because we had the entire Mormon warfare, we had the entire black civilization where they burned down the cities, it's a warfare especially, and we had the entire witch and silent witchcraft trials, and all things special. Because if we didn't build that civil system and like maintain it around the special, I'll still have white supremacists go out for like target random people around the special and kill them in the process without ever being held accountable because of the fact that they like the main group that control the center of that system with the main population because their own space that compete within the main military system and the government itself. So the main Caucasian group over here will just go from one state to the next and then start hunting down whatever people that are not pure white on the special and kill them and get away with it, especially on side. So they made sure that they had certain powers to make sure that they could somewhat isolate these groups and then make sure that in this modern day era we get cameras inside the civil system that law enforcement cannot just go off and abuse you on a special and then give you a feedback that's way to a tyranny on a special. Just because of the fact that those of us that are educated and highly intelligent were like, here, we would not want the feds over here to go off and exploit that power and then put you inside of a cage and then kill you or mutilate you or dismember you, in the process of your outside. So they made sure to remove that type of power, and then eventually they gave them cameras and all that stuff like to make sure that they play fair. And then eventually cops could not just go off and like throw cocaine inside of your car over there and then randomly give you 20 years behind bar and then turn you into a slave and then go off and obtain a bonus of it. So that's why some of us are pretty big inside the civil system that acts as a counterbalance to that system itself. But at the same time, the civil system have been infested with foreign spies that exploit it to then go off like launch a warfare into like grudge and like conflicts into more specifically. So that balance itself is being tackled by two sides. One side that knows specifically that others will go off and exploit it. So they go off and really create fallacies inside the argument itself intentionally to go off and stress it out to the max and then create an argument to go off and claim that that system itself is like somewhat causing us money. That system itself is like something causes all sorts of stuff from our top side. You keep the mercy system intact to make sure that your system itself could not turn into that tyranny system when the government could go off and line you up at like 60,000 and then pop your head on the special and then use a tractor to like move you out the way and throw your dead bodies on the special side. So that's why I like my system over here. So we're gonna fight that we fight hard for like things that's to civil rights and other things around the special instead of like tyranny around the space.